Doesn't make any difference.
All right. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the I Tap That Cigar Show, presented by Corona Cigar. As always, I'm your host, Kevin from Cigar Prop, and I am coming to you live from the Drew Estate Experience Acid Studios here on the sunny Gulf Coast of Florida. Joining me, as always, my co-host, Kerr Viajante of Stogie Road Cigars. Kerr, welcome.
Thank you.
I got through that all in one take this week.
You did.
Yeah,
You're getting better.
Did.
It's almost like you've done this before.
I know. I wasn't as I think I was nervous. I was no, it was my computer was messed up last week.
You were a little off from the last second, charging episode, and
I know that just pissed me off. And then I'm not, like I said, and then I'm a little nervous tonight because I got my LED guys out in the new lounge right now putting LEDs in, and I'm super stoked to see how they turned out. So he's working there now, so he'll be done sometime during the show. And of course, Jessica's going to go out there, so he's going to have to try to explain to Jessica how the remote works, and I'll Google it.
I'm sure Jessica will do just fine, Kevin, in being able to take in the information and relaying it to you accurately.
She's not listening. She's watching TikTok in the other room. She just got home. So producer Jessica will not be joining us tonight. I don't know where she is.
God only knows where she is these days, so I have no idea.
So, yes, she's out in the other room. She just got home. So, we only got two more. She's going to have to join us the next 2 weeks because we've only got two more shows until we go on summer break.
Wow.
I know. I'm super stoked. When we come back, we're going to be broadcasting from the new lounge. What are you going to do? What are you going to do for the month or so we're off?
Well, I realize that you are not going to have a break at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. My Monday nights are going to be clear. If I was closer, I'd come over and help. But I really haven't even thought about what I would do on Mondays.
Yeah,
maybe I'll start a spinoff.
Yeah, that's it. Kind of like the John Wick movies. They got the Continental and the Ballerina coming out. You could have a spinoff, but. I mean,
that's it. I'll just do a spinoff show.
You could call Ryan. We got Ryan from Rocky Mountain on next week. You could just come on he's on Thursday nights. You can come on. There's nothing else. There's no other shows on Thursday nights, so you could go on with Ryan.
I could. I'm a good co-host.
Yeah, you're a great co-host.
See, it's the thing, man. So I know when to talk and when not to.
That's it. Yeah. Oh, so I need a cigar. Let's get right to the CigarMedics humidimeter cut and light. Remember, with the CigarMedics humidimeter, you'll always know when to hold them and know when to smoke them. Kerr, what'd you decide to smoke tonight since you couldn't find the cigar I sent you?
Yeah, I know. I'm an idiot. I'm going to smoke the Stogie Road cigar, Sweetgrass Gringo Lancero. Just in the mood for a little bit more of a mellow with a little bit of spice to it.
See, I was in the mood for something a little bit more spicy, a little bit more bold. So luckily we have on tonight Erik from Glen Tobacconist.
Yeah.
And I got actually a pack of his cigars. This is the Freedom Fighter by Shafio collection. We had Justin and Crystal on. I think it's been like a year. We got to get them back on to see what they've been up to.
How many did you send me?
I believe I sent you two. So yeah, I sent you two. So you have two somewhere. Now you got
two whole cigars?
Two. What? Yeah. I mean, I sent you that. It was so good. I smoked my first one down to the nub, so I may have sent you the nub.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure I sent you two whole cigars. So,
yeah, I'll have to dig them out. It's the humidor is just right now. It's in a transition because
I hear you.
We're prepping for the arrival of the next shipment. So
And I'm at 63%.
Oh, really?
CigarMedics.
I was at 65%.
Oh, right on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's our humidor is a mess too. I just, because we're in the new lounge, we're going to build a walk-in humidor, so I haven't been as delicate with my cigars as I've just been kind of packing them in. So I've lost some cigars, and of course Jessica, luckily she has her own humidor.
I found a bunch of cigars that I thought I was out of when I was after we moved stuff around, because we're coming, the shipments coming in of Toros, but the new deconstructed barber poles are coming in.
Oh, right on.
So I want to make some room, and then it's like, son of a bitch, everything's in disarray.
When we did the last edition on the house was a mess for same thing, 6 months, 9 months. And after we finally got the moved into the other the big master bedroom and then the office here, I was putting everything away, and I found a humidor full of Dunbarton, and I bet there was $2,000 worth of Dunbarton in there. I had lost it for 9 months. I didn't lose it. I just forgot I had it. That's how many cigars I have, and luckily everything had Boveda. That was in a nice like the Winador style humidor.
Yeah.
So it wasn't plugged in, and every cigar was perfect. But it was like Christmas.
I didn't have that type of a fucking windfall.
Yeah. So. I mean, I bought them all, so it's not like and when I first did the cold draw on this cigar, it was like a chocolate bar in my mouth, and I keep putting it in my mouth, and then I know we keep talking, but this cigar is just it is literally like a chocolate bar.
What's great about that is, since we're at that 7-minute mark, we could move forward and then we could talk to Erik about that. Well,
we're not. Looking at my show notes, we're at least an hour before we're talking about this cigar. So there's so much more.
That was my subtle cue that we got to move on. I wasn't going to do the Jessica snap the fingers. I was trying to be.
So, all right.
Before
we bring on our guest tonight, we want to take a moment to thank all of our show partners for making this happen each and every week. So thank you to JC Newman Cigars, CigarMedics, Amendola Cigars, We Are the Muscle, Jake Wyatt Cigars, Illusione Cigars, Deep in Flavor, Deep in Your Mind, K by Karen Berger Cigars, Corona Cigar, and of course, Drew Estate and Experience Acid. All right, so waiting patiently in the Experience Acid green room is the Oak Glen Tobacconist, and you know that I always like to have the guests talk their way in if I can find a good video, but in this case, let's have Erik dance his way in. Today.
As I go riding merrily along, jingle jangle, and they sing, oh, ain't you glad you're single? Jingle jangle.
Some Happy Feet.
Happy Feet.
What's up with that?
Is that a lot of people learn new things during COVID? Was that one of those things?
Actually, no. While that video was a promo during COVID, I used to be an artistic director for a theater company and choreographed a lot of dance routines and stuff with Charleston music. So that was in my background.
Okay, so two-part question. We're going to start off, before that.
Okay.
Because I don't know, what year were you born, and then the way you're dressed, and that in that video, what year did you wish you were born?
So I was born, this is going to make me sound probably pretty young. At least people make fun of me at the shop. But I was born in 1990. And I probably wish, you always wonder, you see the best parts about a decade, even though you don't see the struggles. So I was always 1930s. I would have loved to be born in 1930s. Although in the early 1930s, you're coming off of the Depression. You're headed towards a World War II. So, not the best time, but I do love the era. I love the music. I love the films of that time, the actors of that time. There's something alluring to me in the 30s. So probably around there.
Yeah, at least you're comfortable wearing the clothes. I'm not. It's so hot, and there's so people. I can't remember what show I was on, and I was being interviewed, and they asked me the same question, like what time period, would you want to live in? I go, I want to live in the future where the air conditioning is possibly even colder than it is now.
And you're in Florida.
And I'm in the air conditioning, not outside. You're outside. Kerr's got air conditioning in his garage. So, but yeah, I wouldn't have done well with a lot of the wool and just a lot of crap.
Yeah,
a lot of clothes.
You were a whining dude back then.
And I'm sure you guys get a lot more reenacting on the East Coast than the West Coast. But it's funny you say wool, because my previous job also was a lot of and I actually got paid to do this. That's the crazy part. But I was a reenactor for the 18th century. We do field trips for kids. We'd see about 75,000 kids a spring. And we would be living history, teach them about history of the time. So around this time for 4th of July, we do a colonial fair, and I'd be wearing a wool red coat. It was nuts in 100-degree weather. It was crazy.
I'm in South Carolina. There's reenactments down here.
Yeah,
but it was very specific.
Yeah, not any of the red coats. Yeah, that's
right.
Oh my God. So but yeah, so you're coming to us where tonight?
So I'm actually at my house right now. Our shop is located in Oak Glen, California, which for people who are not really familiar with the area, it's about no traffic included, just simply a mileage base. You're about an hour and 20 minutes south of LA and about an hour and a half north of San Diego.
Now it's Oak Glen, right? Or
yes.
Oak Glen.
Okay.
Glen. Because I hear you say that a lot, and I'm like, is he saying Oakland? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's Oak Glen. So you rush those two. So all right. So I don't know maps. So is that in what they'd call SoCal? Is that Southern California?
Yeah, we'd still be considered. Yeah.
Okay. So how far from Bakersfield? I know where Bakersfield at, because I got friends in Bakersfield.
Okay, Bakersfield's probably going to be a little over 2 hours. 2 hours, 2.5 hours, around there.
No, right around the corner. So it's a piece of cake. So yeah. Well, I mean, for as big as California is, it's like Texas.
It's a long state.
Yeah, Texas. I'm going over to the neighbor's house, and it's 2 hours away.
Yeah.
Like the neighbor's house. So yeah, it's
right.
Yeah. Oh my God. So did you grow up in California, or did you transplant there?
No, I grew up there. Actually, the hometown that I'm in right now is I've been here since I was 2 or 3 years old. So for the long haul. And it's funny because we maybe saw one cigar shop growing up. And so then we opened up ours. And then last year, another one opened up in the same area. It's weird because California is so sparse in comparison to a place like Florida in terms of how spread out we are. But you're seeing a few more pop up. But been here basically my whole life.
Wow. So the last name Drazen, what is the history of your last name? Like I said beforehand, these are questions I have. Nobody else cares, but me.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So Drazen actually is a Yugoslavian. Primarily, our family is German and Yugoslavian. That I've been told, and it sounds really pretentious, but I've been told by like my great uncle. He's like, the correct way to pronounce your name is Drazen, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna say Drazen because that's what everyone says. And you don't want to be like, hi, I'm Erik Drazen. Like you're just like, well, who is this guy? So,
a buddy of mine, their family is Yugoslavian, and his given name is Ante, Ante. But since we were little kids, we only know him as Tony. But as he got older and he wanted to be fancy, he would introduce himself as Ante, or like especially to girls because it sounded fancier.
Oh yeah.
And then we would meet these girls like, oh, you're friends of Ante? Who the hell's that? You know, and and Tony's like, and I'm like, oh, you mean Tony? You know, like what? Yeah, we just called him Tony since he was a kid. He just,
exactly. I haven't made that journey yet. I haven't been like, I need to be called Drazen, and my wife and I got married super young, so there was no need for that when introducing myself to girls.
if you go with Drazen, you're gonna have to put a K in Erik. Just drop the C and put a K in it.
Yeah.
That will all come together.
But there is a famous photographer that has your same, but he puts the H on the end of Erik, and it's the same Drazin. Have you ever Google him? He's really good.
I had no idea.
I like the H better than the K, Kevin.
Yeah, so his is Erik Drazen. I don't know how he pronounces it, but same spelling, but he has an H. Yeah, so
interesting.
I do a lot of research. Yeah, he's like 70, I think, from looking at him. But if that makes a difference, I do a lot of homework on our guest as much as I can.
Okay.
So so he clouded the whole Google search for me, kind of screwed it up. Not a lot of information on you. So
when it doesn't help that like the younger version is dressing up like he's in the 30s. So that's probably convoluting things.
Exactly. I forget who we had on, and it was who was it, Kerr? It was the guy that made the Black Moses cigar over there, Corona guy. Howard G. And doing some history on him. Then I'd asked him about there's a famous boxer like with the same name, and he's like, what? So now, he fell down this rabbit hole of going and looking at this guy and finding out if he's related to this boxer.
Was he like a Colombian, like a Central American boxer that came from African roots or something? Or
and there was a connection there. Like the two of them were together, and then Howard had never heard of them, and I'm like, there you go. So now. I forgot. I have to message Howard tomorrow. I'm like, hey, did you ever look that guy up? So, but you may have a famous photographer, in
it'll
the
be
family.
scary. And then be like, but he knows you, but you don't know him.
Wait, what? Or kind of find out he lives in the next town. That would be that'll be real weird. So if California's anything like, so I grew up in Venice Beach, Florida. So, obviously in California. So Florida and California, pretty similar. When I was growing up, you were either a surfer or a skater. That's it. You didn't have, I did inline skating, but which one were you? Were you either one or were you a theater kid?
Honestly, I tried both. And it turned out to be skateboarding. I tried surfing. I tried my hardest because my dad was a surfer. Never worked. And then there was something about skating vert and having the wave always the same. I was like, this makes sense. And so my brothers and I were really heavily into it in like my early 20s. And we would be going like hitting up skate parks. We even did a trip where we went to Arizona because believe it or not, Arizona's got some really good skate shops where we would hit up a cigar lounge, then a skate park, cigar lounge, then a skate park. And we did that for like 3 days straight.
Right on. So yeah, like I said, I did inline skating. I was afraid of heights. And then the water, I couldn't get surfing down. I tried a couple times. I had friends and I don't know. I just didn't have the coordination,
Is inline skating like a group activity?
No, you can do it by yourself.
I don't know what that is.
Inline
Whenever I
skate?
think of inline skating, you got to get in line with someone.
Yeah, like the 5 wheels in a row, like hockey.
Yeah.
Okay.
What did you call those skates, Kerr?
5 skates in a row, like
No, 5 wheels. Instead of 4 wheels on a set of roller skates, they're
Okay,
inline
yeah.
skate. Yeah.
Okay.
Roller blades. I think
Rollerblade.
that
Yeah.
roller blades, that's what we call them.
Yeah, I think you didn't want to say the word rollerblade.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So inline skating. So yeah, but yeah, rollerblading. And then we did street hockey, because we're in Florida, so we had no choice to do any, I didn't see there was an ice rink that opened up in town in like my 30s, but yeah, we there was no snow, so we did a street hockey. It was a little rough, but
Street hockey's the best.
We actually had fun.
Well,
So no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's funny how you said, or were you a theater kid? As much as I was like heavily inundated into theater people creep me out. So like I love doing the stage production. I love directing. I love writing the script. I love the whole process. But when you meet a theater person, they're a theater person. It's like, okay, I better gear up for this. Like
they're mean. So my first job, 15 years old, as in first paying, other than mowing lawns and stuff, was at the Golden Apple Dinner Theater. So it was it was like a buffet, and so and then you got like dessert, and then you went and saw the show. So I mean I watched tons. I love theater. I love opera, everything about that. But the theater people are mean. They're mean and catty and outside the theater people. It's like if you're not a theater person, like they're you don't get in their clique. Like
is the buffet dinner theater, would they still be considered theater people?
Well, I could say this is
I think there's some snobs that would disagree with that one, but I don't want to sound pretentious or anything.
Well, I wouldn't say snobs. I would say thespians. Thespians would say that, but actually, the theater I worked at for 11 years was a dinner theater. So, Kevin, when you say the buffet style, like that's what we did on a normal yearly basis.
One by hour.
Yeah. And we had a lot of theater people.
Yeah, a lot of theater people. Like,
but like you said, the thespians would be like, dinner theater.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Waiting for Godot.
Yeah. They'd have the intermission. They'd come out and get their drinks and, whatever. And they'd go back in. And like I said, I loved watching all the shows. So, it was great. But dinner theater. God, I'd forgotten that I worked at a dinner theater until just now. That was get
a sloppy Joe at the buffet in between acts, it's not the theater.
Yeah, and then every now and then for the really like I don't know good shows or famous show whatever, you'd have sit down like steaks and there'd be order off a menu. It'd be a little fancier than the typical buffet. But oh god, I love the old dinner theater. So where did cigars? You said you made it. You're skating in your 20s. Where did the cigars come in? Was your dad a cigar smoker? Where did those come into your life at?
Yeah, so it's actually funny because I grew up in a very strict household. There were 5 of us, and there was no alcohol and no tobacco. And while that was going on, though, my grandmother, she just recently passed. She was about 96, and she was a chain smoker since she was 19. She was like the classic German grandmother that was like vodka martini by 3 o'clock, chain smoking cigarettes. And so tobacco I never had an aversion to, and I think someone gave me a few cigars now and then I still remember to this day. I think a lot of us have that cigar aha moment of smoking that particular cigar. And earlier we were talking about Room 101. I was in Santa Barbara area. I was on a family vacation, and at the time, even in California, you could get a 6x60 payback Room 101 Maduro for $8. And wow. I mean, when I bought that, I was like living the high life, like an $8 cigar. Here we go. And I was sitting with my wife having a cigar, and I was like, there's got to be a way to enjoy this on a normal basis because this is so great. By the pool, having that. So then it started, like, fast forward from there, I picked up a humidor because I heard the concept you can actually age cigars, and I had no idea. And I liked the idea of creating an environment for them and monitoring that environment to make them sometimes improve, and sometimes that won't happen. But either way, you can age a cigar. So it started, like most of us, 100 count desktop humidor, which you can only probably fit about 65 in, even though it says 100, unless you're smoking like backwoods or something.
Was it a Thompson cigar special?
Actually, no. I mean, I did as much research for my budget, and I came up with Savoy by Ashton. I was like, this seems pretty good. Seems like we get the job done, but I'm not like huge bankroll. I'm not going out on a Daniel Marshall or anything like that. I'm just like, let's get our feet wet, see what happens. And so, although it's funny you say Thompson's, because immediately after getting this humidor, I had to fill it up. So I was like, 5-pack this, 5-pack that, 5-pack this. And I'm not going to call out any brands. I just had certain brands I wasn't a fan of. So, and quickly filled that up, then got a second one. So I had 2 desktops. That turned into a coolador from New Air, and then it turned into a 6-foot cabinet. And from that point, like for me, I was like, I want to try all these new things. I would just buy them by the box because I want to age it and see how it is. And there were some I had tried that were like tried and true I loved. But it's funny because no one else around me was really into cigars. So I didn't really I would have to just like YouTube everything. So in my own mind, for my own palate, I felt like I had to pioneer, like, what did I like? And I started off really wrong because I had this awful, awful Connecticut. It was bitter. It was harsh. And then I had this Maduro that was like from the Dominican Republic. It was sweeter. It was medium. So I was like, okay, so Connecticut means strong and harsh. Maduro means mild and sweet. that's how I jumped into it, and quickly learned the opposite. But just started like gaining what I liked for a palate and such like that. And then it came time to leave that theater company after being there for 11 years. And I was in between jobs, and where we were located, still up in Oak Glen area, an opportunity opened up, and my wife's cousin said, hey, we have a pizza kitchen, we have a coffee shop, and we've always wanted to have like a cigar shop. And so it kind of was going around for a while thinking about it. And I talked to my wife, and she's like, you totally should do it. So our main stipulation was, we want to make this happen, but I would prefer, because I've spent 8+ years researching cigars and becoming more or less a cigar like nerd about it. I was like, I'd rather own the business and take the risk myself than work for somebody else, because the heart and soul of this is going to be a lot of like the research that we've done. And so we opened up, our doors open August 30th, 2019. So we're going to be hitting 4 years, and it's just a lot of that. I don't know if that's too long-winded or it's too much of a snapshot.
No, not at all. So they wanted to actually, they approached you about, they wanted to open one up and just have you run it. So,
well, they knew that anytime they saw us, I had a cigar in my hand, and they were like, do you ever think about opening something? And I'm always like, I would love to. I don't know how you do that. I don't really know. And I'm sure you guys are familiar with the Cigar Authority, Dave Garofalo. Yeah. So like a lot of people thinking about it, start Googling how to open a cigar shop. And of course, his episode comes on of, so you want to open up a cigar shop on his podcast. And like Dave, because I've talked with him, I've interviewed him. I love Dave. Awesome, like wealth of knowledge, but not the most encouraging podcast at all. I mean, and you read things like Omar DeFries was Fratello and being like, to start a cigar brand, you're going to need like $150K and stuff. And just like, okay, that's not on the table. So we started off so grassroots and so small, because I mean, I always make the joke, we're as mom and pop as you get. Like, it was myself and my wife, and that was it. And we had a humidor and 4 shelves on either side, with like, on both sides of the shelves, there were cigars with a foot gap in between, and then empty shelf. Like, there's hardly any cigars. And kind of just did the Nick Perdomo type method of just like, whatever you make, pour it back in. Whatever you like, slowly, gradually build. And by the grace of God, we've built it significantly bigger than where we started. So it's been an awesome journey. It's been stressful, but it's been awesome.
That's an understatement, a stressful. I mean, Kerr and I both have, our own brands, and it's just, if you want to lose a lot of money, start a cigar company. If you want you want to learn not to love cigars anymore, get into the business. That'll teach you, how to not love cigars. So you didn't. So there wasn't a whole process of going around searching for different buildings. They had the building that you're in. That's where, the pizza kitchen and everything. Do they own that? I've got a picture of your building. So we'll pull that up. So this is the aerial of your building. So I see there's a back building and a forward. Where are you at?
So actually that, I'm surprised that guy actually got pulled up because that's not our actual location. That's just up the street from us.
Okay. What about this one?
That's it. That's the one.
Okay.
Yeah. So people get confused a lot, and understandably so, because we're very much tucked in the back. So when you pull into that driveway, you're kind of like, well, where is it? We have a road sign out in front. We have a small sign in the window. But what's funny is that, so the bones of that structure was built in the 40s. It was one of the first. We're in apple country. So like during the fall, we get like hordes of apple picking people coming up. Don't fully understand it myself, but it's just the tradition of where we live. So the actual bones of that structure was built in the 40s. It was one of the biggest fruit stands there were. And then it switched hands back and forth. And the owner decided he wanted to extend the building, but instead of building it, he brought up 2 rail cars from 1913, train cars, reefer cars, and put them up against the back of the building. And basically, when you walk through the back wall, it looks as if it's an extra room, but it's actually a train car from 1913. So they were like, this area is kind of storage. We were thinking about back here. Yeah, that's our humidor.
Wow.
That whole humidor was completely empty. And you can see the top wall, the top ceiling without the lights and stuff. That's the original roof. And on the very end of it, you have that hatch, and they would drop blocks of ice through that hatch to keep all of the perishables like refrigerated. So we wanted to keep the history, but we also, of course, are building a humidor. So we imported all the Spanish cedar, put in a false wall. And what was really cool is I did a lot of research on cedar. And unfortunately, like most things in the great state of California, it's very difficult to obtain. It was cheaper to order all of our stacks and stacks of cedar from Mississippi and have it freighted over here than actually buying it in state. So
Wow.
that's what we ended up doing. The surrounding walls, the shelves themselves are an inch thick of straight Spanish cedar. Built out the humidor, and then if you walk through the train car on the other side is where we have our main smoking patio, and it's like a big tent that holds up during the snow, and then we have sunshades during the summer, and that's like our main lounge area. We have a small private smoking area, but primarily we're out on the patio.
Oh, so you get snow. So you're in that part of
We do.
Yeah, like a lot of snow, or is it just like Kerr gets a dusting where he's at? But
Okay. Usually we get 1 or 2 good snows that are around 14 inches
wow.
a year. This last year sucked. It was every month. I was shoveling paths. I was like, I live in California. Why is there so much snow? but yeah, we do see a fair amount.
Wow. So I know what you mean on Spanish cedar, because like I said, we're building our lounge onto our house. We've got a room, and I reached out. We have a huge lumber yard near us, and they ship all over the world. They do live edge, and they do a ton of stuff. But cedar is just ungodly expensive. It is just right now. I mean, it is crazy. So now they're looking for some Honduran mahogany for me, because it is almost because Spanish cedar, when they use in humidors, kiln dried Spanish cedar, they say really doesn't belong to the cedar family. It's more of the mahogany family. So if you choose
I've heard that too.
Yeah, so we're looking for either Honduran mahogany or Brazilian cherry. So they have the same attributes as Spanish cedar. They soak up moisture, they release it. Or we can go with or American red cherry, but the smell, I don't know if you've ever smelt it. It's it's cherry, it's like your traditional Spanish cedar times 1,000. It would mess up your cigar. It gets in your clothes. You can't
it's
even
those people that just those small tobacco shops that just put cedar.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, normal cedar.
Smell like an Amish blanket.
Yeah, that's usually like American red cedar.
Yeah,
like I said, it's crazy, how much it smells. But it's a really good alternative. But
Okay.
I looked at it, I'm like, boy, that'll I mean, because Spanish cedar is good for cigars,
Right.
to a point.
Right.
To a point, you don't want
Right.
all the cigars. Like, why does every one of your cigars taste the same? I don't know. It's
all from the same region. They all have a cedar flavor.
Exactly. So where did you learn to build this? Or were were you in theater set building? You knew how to do construction, or are you just winging it?
So, being on where we were, and I should probably preface this by saying that the theater company, the reenacting, it was all on this like large like apple farm. And so it was very much, I was on the dramatic side. I was the program developer. But when we did like theater, I would write the play, I would direct it, I would cast it, I would make the set, I would do the sound mixing for like everything. And the theater company, like when I ended up leaving, like annually it would gross around like 500,000. It wasn't crazy big or anything, but at least it was enough to be professional inside of like, yeah, we actually get paid to do this. So I learned a lot of tricks about set building. And then at the same time, I would help out a lot on the construction of the projects on the farm. Like I would help build some of the buildings and be involved there. So it was kind of like an added bonus of being there, because I learned from a lot of contractors, like, hey, if you're building this, you want to do it this way. And then in terms of like electricity and all that, very fortuitous, my brother is an electrician. My brother-in-law is an electrician, so he helped me do all the wiring and amperage, and because I'm like, I don't want to touch that. So
I have low voltage LED. There's a guy installing that as we speak in the lounge. I said, exactly. I'm not an electrical guy. I was in the attic the other day running electrical because we got the AC being installed on Saturday. But I was just running the cable and just fishing it through the wall, and then that's where I stop. I'll fish stuff through the wall, and all right, get the profession. But it's funny, so I put on Facebook the other day because I had a question because I have to run another electrical line, and my one electrician buddy, he wasn't answering his phone, so I threw it on Facebook. I go, hey, my electricians out there, answer me a question. Well, that's where I went wrong. I asked for electricians. And then you know how Facebook people are. We're all, right now we're all sub experts. Is that too soon? But yeah, lot. So in their spare time, they're all electricians as well. So yes, I got a lot of answers that didn't do me any good at all. None of them. So
that's a big mistake.
My God. Big mistake. So you left the theater company. What was your wife with the theater company as well? And then what was she doing at the time?
Yeah, so it was very much a family oriented situation. So she was always involved with it, but then we started having children. So that greatly minimized her ability to be involved. But she would act in it as well. She was also my editor on everything I wrote. So by the end, I think I wrote like 18 plays or so. So I would always like give it the test. Okay, what do you think? And then she would tell me. Sometimes the edits would go completely easy and be like, all right, that makes sense. Sometimes we had a few arguments about it, but that's the whole process. So she's been my editor since the beginning.
All right. So have you tried writing a book at all, or books?
I have, and I love to talk about it, but I've also quickly learned that everyone's writing a book out there. And then when you get them started, like, so what's your book about? 3 hours later, you're like, oh my gosh, I just want to hear a quick synopsis. But during COVID and during trying to get the shop up and going and working my other job, I did write another book, and currently we're submitting it for publication. So we'll see if anything comes of it. My eldest sister is a published author, so she's kind of helped me how to write cover letters, how to do. My biggest issue is my like log line, my elevator pitch, like trying to condense 350 pages into 2 sentences is a big struggle of mine. So
it's a struggle. During the COVID, I wrote and published. I got a kid's book, so I wrote I wrote a children's book. So yeah, that was because
that's awesome.
Same. Yeah, it was cool. a lot more work than I thought it would be. I'm like, I'll just write a book, and then you have, the editor, she's in like England, and then you got to have graphic people, and it's a lot of money, a lot of money in kids' books. People think you can just whip one of those things up. I mean, that wasn't very, very fun, but at least I wrote a kid's book, whatever.
Nice. That's awesome.
So when did your wife start smoking? I mean, what age did you two meet? So you said you married young. So
so we met when we were both 17, and we started dating. 3 months later, after dating, we got engaged, and then 8 months later, we got married. So we just hit our 14th anniversary.
Oh, right on! Congrats!
Congratulations!
Yeah, thank you. So it's one of those things, because having kids of my own, I'm like, I always like to tease her. I was like, you realize if our eldest daughter gets married and has a child the same age we did, we'll be grandparents by like 43. Like that's crazy.
I became I got married when I was really young to my first wife, and I was 16 when I got married. It lasted 17 years. We just, just grew apart. So it stayed. So I joke with my daughter because she's 27. I say we literally grew up together, my daughter and I. I mean, I was a child, having a child, but yeah. So I know what you mean. I become a grandfather at 42, I think 41.
That's awesome.
So
that's awesome.
So,
congratulations.
but yeah, was she smoking with you on early on?
Well, a little bit. She was always encouraging of it. She always thought it was cool. She would always be like, the pipe smells better. Like when you have a tobacco pipe, I like the aromatic flavor and such like that. And I started with a tobacco pipe, but then I just started learning, like, there's something about cigars that just like grabs me every time. It's always what I want to jump to. And so we would do the classic, like, I'd try this. Oh, you might want to try this too. The only person on the planet that I will share a cigar with is my wife. No one else.
I hear you, bro. I've been in lounges with other guys, and you just wonder, like, what's wrong with them? Like, I love this. You should try this. Yeah, I'll go get one. Like, what are you handing me a cigar? You should try this. What?
Exactly. And so. But the unfortunate thing is, like I told you in the beginning, I did it wrong. And unfortunately, I was leading her down the wrong path because I was like, I'm pretty sure Maduros are more mild. So the first cigar that she fell in love with when we opened the lounge, because at that point she's like, I've smoked a few cigars. I really want to get invested in what we're carrying. And so because she learned that way that I did, her favorites were Tabernacle Broadleaf by Foundation. Oh, she loved it in the short torpedo size. Like that was like her go-to. She was a big fan of Roma Craft. And currently, in terms of like where her palate's evolved, she likes that like medium Corojo 99 Aganorsa type experience. And she still likes Foundation, a lot of those. So she always like was invested in it because she always told me like it would get me talking by having a cigar. Like if we're sitting out in the porch, we would have conversation. And then she gradually found, okay, this is what I enjoy in her own palate and stuff. So that journey has been pretty cool.
That's a good lineup. Didn't sound like you steered her too wrong.
Yeah. I know you gifted me these cigars, and I always like to exchange cigars. So I didn't know, because you own a shop. So, and it's like, what do I trade somebody that owns a shop? I'm going to send your wife some cigars that I know she'll love, and she won't be able to. I have the only supply of these Foundations anywhere, and they were never made. They were never made for sale. So I'm gonna hook your wife up with some cool Foundation.
I will do my best to make certain they get into her hands and they're not smoked. But I'll make sure she gets them.
Kevin, is that a secret?
Yeah. I'm gonna deliver a secret to you.
Kerr's wife or fiance just started smoking cigars. I got Jessica into start smoking cigars when we got together 5-7 years ago, something like that. But she always she resented after a certain time that I started her off on like the infused cigars and the milder cigars, because I thought, you know, she's a woman. That's what women start off with, you know, and that's just my own.
Any beginner at the same time. Any beginner likes to go with me.
Yeah. Thanks for saving me, but it was because she was a woman. It's, I appreciate you trying to dig me out of there, but
I wasn't going to do anything. I got accused already of just saving you too much, Kevin. So I was going to keep my mouth shut on that one.
That's it. But now she is. I mean, like there's people in the industry that knows, like, she hunts out the boldest, the strongest, the spiciest, the heaviest, the biggest nicotine cigars that there is, and that's what she absolutely loves. And cared.
And I remember. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the first interaction I had with you guys, actually, I think she had made an order from our shop for a Stolen Throne sampler.
Oh, okay.
And so it, like, I remember the, like, packaging it up and that name coming up and being like, where have I heard that name before? And then she posted it on social media. I was like, oh, hey, cool. And I got to say, like, Stolen Throne's a huge favorite brand at the shop. Like, great cigars.
She won't give me one of the new ones. So I'm going to have to go buy them, because she got like a 5-pack in, and then she smoked them all, and she's only got like one more. And I didn't know she had them. She was smoking it the other night. And she's like, I'm like, what are you smoking? She's like, oh, the new Stolen Throne. I go, you've had new Stolen Throne? She's like, yeah. So she let me smoke.
To the vest.
Yeah, she let me smoke it for 2 or 3 minutes. Oh my God, it's fantastic. Nice. I love everything they do.
Well, you know? And it's funny with Stolen Throne is that they actually blended us a Sumatra for our membership coming up later on the year. I'll have to get you one of those too. It's really good steak.
Oh man, can't wait. You know, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that, the membership here in a little bit. But let's get back to opening up the lounge, building out the humidor. What were the mistakes? You know, we all. I mean, I'm building mine on my house. I've had dozens of mistakes so far, and you know that is caught. There's a guy out there right now putting LEDs in just because I did a shelving mistake, and now that's a $1,400 mistake just because I chose the wrong shelves. You know, so yeah. What about you? What were the mistakes?
So we did it really. One mistake, I probably should have made it bigger. I like created the wall to a certain length, and I was like, I think this is enough. And I know there's, like, I tell this to all my customers, there is a law in this universe, and it's if you think your humidor is big enough, it's not. And I did not adhere to that law. I was like, I could extend it a couple more feet out. I was like, nah, it'll be fine. Sure enough, I paid for it. And I would also say lighting was a challenge because I wanted to keep the like rustic kind of experience of this old train car. So you kind of have more like overhead, like lantern lighting. And it probably would have been advantageous if I had wired like underneath, because every shelving is at like a small angle. If I had put some like LEDs under each shelf to kind of illuminate the cigars a bit more. There's a ton of like cutting issues because everything is rough cut. So we had to plane everything. I sanded everything, ran all the boards through a table sander. Like it was nonstop. It's funny because people will be like, you're always going on about, oh, this cigar tastes like this and this flavor note. And they're like, how does someone know what cedar tastes like? And I'm like, yeah. Well, when you cut a bajillion boards and you're spitting cedar for a week, you kind of know what it tastes like.
Yeah.
It's the same when I'm doing like a cigar review sometimes, and I'll get like a cardboard. And someone asked me the same thing, like, what are you sucking on cardboard? I go, you package up as many shipments a day as I do. You know what cardboard tastes like.
You do. Yeah. It's in the nostrils. Yeah. So a lot of it, they were mistakes like that. I have to say, and this is like something I'm very, very grateful for, is our whole, like, in terms of starting up the business, the road of getting our licensing was like an act of God. Like, I don't know how smooth. I don't know how we got it that smooth. A lot of people were like, oh, you're going to be waiting forever for this. So that is always my stress point being in California is, of course, the tax side, the accounting side, the licensing, all to make certain all of our ducks are in a row. And thankfully, it hasn't been that bad. I think too, is just we we have to ask ourselves some questions sometimes of like, now that we're getting to a certain size, are we outgrowing the location? Is the location like working? So, but honestly, not too bad of like a start, not too many hiccups that could have happened. So I'll take the ones that did because they were more minor than they were major.
You know, you talk about, are you outgrowing? It's just like, I can't, because I watched a couple of your videos, like the transformation. Do you really want to do this again? It's just like, oh,
I don't. I don't.
Start. Hopefully, your neighbors go out of business. Not. I would say, and you can just knock down their wall and expand a little bit. So, how many little different shops are in that little? That little building that you're in?
Honestly, it's just the two of us. So
okay.
My landlord is the one who owns the pizza kitchen / cafe, and then it's also like a small retail space up front where they sell some of their produce, because that's one of like 3 properties that they have, and they have a bunch of like orchards themselves. So I'm definitely in the back portion, and they're awesome people, because you hear those horror stories too of like, yeah, my cigar lounge is in a strip mall, my neighbor's a hairdresser and she hates the smell of smoke, and my landlord is this. And so we're very fortunate in the fact that like 2 or 3 times a week, my landlord sits down with us. We have a cigar together. He loves the culture, the community. And so that's been pretty smooth sailing. But it's kind of funny because when we started, like, so few cigars in the humidor, now packed to the gills and stuff. And you start wondering, I don't know if you follow Tim Swanson from Cigars Daily.
Yeah, I follow Tim. Yeah.
Okay, and he's been pretty instrumental in like kind of getting us online and helping us on the road of online and stuff. So I talk to him all the time, and he's like, "Yeah, I've had to change the locations 3 times." I'm like, "Well, I hope I don't have to do that." I mean, it's a great problem to have, but
yeah. Exactly. Yeah, because he just built a big, massive new humidor. I think last video I saw he was closing down like the lounge part when he making his humidor bigger or something. I'll have to go back and watch the video. But yeah, he's just crushing it. It sucks he got hit with a YouTube ban for a week. Last week they popped him on a channel strike. Have you dealt
with much of that?
They took down 500 of my videos. And then I deleted like another 200 on top of that after my second channel strike. So yeah, so we went from, we probably, lost easily 700 videos that were taken down, gone, deleted, luckily I have all those videos, in a file, but right. And then TikTok just, they gave me the axe last week, 32,000 followers gone. I have to start over now.
That just happened to us on TikTok too. We just had to.
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. We were pretty small on TikTok, to be honest. We were only about like 1,200, but yeah. So now we're back to 5, and it's the organic crawl again. But that's kind of what you have to diversify TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, just to keep it going, basically.
And there are so many people that they've stuck with YouTube, and like that's their golden ticket. And then other people just do Instagram. Some people just do Facebook. And I tell you, you lose one of those if you lose your only platform you're on, you're screwed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we lost 32,000 followers on TikTok. I still have Instagram. I still have Facebook. I still have YouTube, and we're gonna start over on. I got on TikTok. I was lucky. I was so lucky. There was only a couple of cigar guys on, TikTok. I mean, I had my very first day on TikTok. I got 1,000 followers my first day. Nice. I was at 5,000 my first week. So wow. It was just it was just the right time.
Sure.
And it's funny because everybody made fun of me, when I was on TikTok, and people said this on other shows. Yeah. And they blasted me on social media. Oh, that's where Kevin belongs. Like I said, a platform like TikTok. And I was literally laughing to the bank. And then when I started seeing all of these people start making TikTok, and I never said a word. I could have been that guy, but I let it go. And I'm like, all of you guys that made fun of me. Now the market is so saturated, you're not getting any traction. And
Well, one of the things,
no,
Kevin, you and I talked about a while ago, and this is one of the things I think even before I joined the show that was impressive, is that you not putting all your eggs in one basket, is how many platforms the show's streaming on now. And
we're on 9 platforms tonight. 9 different places.
Where like most folks are streaming on 1, 2, 3, maybe. Kevin and I were talking a couple of years back, and he's like, "Listen, they're going to start cracking down. You don't want to be a one hit wonder. You don't want to be a one platform, relying on one platform." And you start mapping out all the different platforms the show is going to be on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, we're broadcasting on 3 Facebook pages, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, and 2 YouTube channels. That's where we're broadcasting from tonight.
And LinkedIn was the big one. I think that's another one that's going to be probably going to be coming up as another source sooner than later.
Okay.
LinkedIn is now. When you do your interviews, do you go live or are they pre-recorded?
That we go live, and that's also been an interesting journey for us because our YouTube I think is only like 2.26 thousand followers, so it's not big, but there's a major hindrance and shadow banning of what gets exposed.
When I'm going through YouTube, there's no cigar ever in the recommend. No, it doesn't happen.
Right. So we used to do all our lives there. I think we've done almost 100 lives on our channel, and I've recently realized if we want to really get, for now in this season, the most traction is just casual Instagram lives, depending on who we're doing it with. And then we started up a podcast, and so we've been starting to record some of our podcasts live as well. And the podcast is cool because you can put connecting links, you put full-on descriptions, so that really helps. So we're trying to grow our footprint in the podcast side.
Yep. Now what platform? We use StreamYard. What platform do you use for your lives?
Same, StreamYard.
Same. Yeah. Okay, so do you use the paid version? Of StreamYard. Okay, so you can broadcast on 9 platforms. So when you're doing your lives.
Okay.
So
right now we're only 1 YouTube channel, 1 Facebook channel, but I'll look into that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, LinkedIn is huge. I've gotten a lot. We don't get a lot of views from LinkedIn, but we get a lot of people in the industry that they'll say they'll see me somewhere. Hey, I saw you're live on LinkedIn. I'm like, you're the 1 or 2 people that watch on LinkedIn, but it's free to broadcast on there, so why not? Same with Twitter. We don't get very many views on Twitter, but it's free. I pay the $9.99 for the Twitter Prime, and we can broadcast live on there. So it's definitely just worth same with Twitch. I think maybe once a month, one person from Twitch will watch, but it's just another platform. Doesn't cost me anything. So it's
well,
always,
I think too, in terms of in the American market, I think we're so used to having instant gratification. And so it's we want that, how you were saying, very fortunate on the TikTok side, hitting 5K in a week. And people, I think, get discouraged if that doesn't happen. But it's it's the slow burn game. Just build up the portfolio, build up the content, and just keep production going. And eventually you'll see that start to be an incline.
Well, yeah, especially and then people watching that maybe want to get into, because Jessica just had a guy into her lounge today, and he was talking to her about social media and building up his profile, or his presence on there. And I've had like advertisers like reach out, or people that want to do promos with me. And then they're like, oh, hey, what do you charge for an ad on the show or whatever? Then you give them a number, and they're like, oh, it's a little steep. I know your competitor over here, he only charges this. And I'm like, well, hey, you shouldn't have told me what he charges, but whatever. Right. But I'll say, he's only on YouTube. That's it.
Yeah.
He does YouTube. I go, we broadcast on 9 different places you can find us, and even if it's just 1 or 2 people here, 1 or 2 people, and then it's 40, 50 on these other platforms, it's just, that gives you something to bring to an advertiser or, a sponsor, hey, we're all over the place. We diversify
Well, and
ourselves,
two
so.
is like we were talking earlier about like you interviewing Saka, interviewing Nick Melillo, and that has a lot to do too. It's like who do you have access to? Who likes to be on your show, hang out to? Because this business in cigars is so relational, and that carries over to the conversations you have during a live stream. Because unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there too. They'll be like, "I'll do this interview," and then you're just like, "What are they talking about?" Like it's just dead silence. It's slow and stuff. It's like, yeah, there's so many different factors you have to consider when that's playing into what you're saying. And so, I mean, like I said, before I opened the shop, I was like, oh yeah, I knew who Kevin was from Cigar Prop was. Like I used to watch his show all the time, trying to get as much information. Like it's just, yeah.
It's just being outgoing, and then just being down to earth. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like I said, you're watching a show, especially if it's a friend of mine, they're doing a show, and it's just like, whew, that's about 8 seconds of dead air right there. That's that's a little uncomfortable. Or you get like or you get the morning zoo type of shows, with the horn honking and all that. And God, those.
And you got to keep it interesting and diversify. You can't always have the same folks on. And I know, Kevin, when I first started doing a show, it was before any of these other like StreamYard, these platforms were available. So you'd have a show on Facebook, and if someone didn't like you and if they reported you to Facebook and you got banned, you didn't have a show.
Yeah, it's true.
That's what happened. It was like, hey, you're banned for 2 weeks. Okay, so 2 weeks I can't have a show because somebody complained.
Yeah. It's brutal out there. And then now, like I said, like Erik said, with the shadow banning of alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, it's just all of them are just, it just sucks. You can shake your ass on this platform. You can do this on this platform, smoke all the marijuana you want and everything else. But a premium hand rolled cigar, that's just that's bad. So
I know, it's crazy.
That's it.
It's crazy.
So talk us through like the first week in business, the first month in business. You're open up. Did you just open up the doors? You're like, all these people are going to come in, and then like nobody came in, or was it real busy?
So actually, that's a really good question. It was advantageous to open late August because, like I said, we're in apple country. So the area of Oak Glen becomes a madhouse from mid-August to about beginning of November. So it doesn't matter if and I say that on the weekends, of course, but it doesn't matter if it's like, oh yeah, well, are you a cigar smoker? And people are up there like, oh, I drove from 2 hours away, picking apples, get some cider. Wait, there's a cigar shop here? So that really helped us. Also, because the theater company I worked at was literally like a minute down the road, people in that area kind of knew who I was. So a lot of the contacts and friends that I made, as far as customers, I was like, hey guys, I'm opening up a shop. I would love for you guys to just stop by. In terms of like a brick and mortar shop and with the revenue it brings in, it wasn't very profitable in the beginning at all. But in terms of a very hopeful person saying, I want to start this company, I want to get it going, it was very positive to me. So our first day, like we saw probably like 20 people. To me, I'm like, that's cool.
That's a lot. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. And then you kind of see an up and down. And then January hits and no one's there. And you run a certain day, it's a Sunday, and you make $75, and you're like, okay, this is a bit scary. But so what I was doing at the time is I would open the shop Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then I would work my other job Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and my wife had a part-time job as well. So we kind of made ends meet. We were kind of like skimping and saving and going through that, and all the money we made, like on a monthly salary in the beginning, I would only pull like $400 just to be like, this is just the supplement what I'm missing from my other job, and everything else is going back in the business. And we continue that way from like, we started seeing some improvement. And then on the day of March 20th, 2020, COVID happens. So we, everywhere around the world gets shut down. And at this time I didn't have a website. So I was texting and emailing, hey guys, if you want to make an order, you can do it over the phone. And then I will run the cigars out to you like we all did kind of curbside pickup.
Yeah.
And so we kind of continued that and then reopened officially in May and started to see a gradual like incline. And even though COVID was that difficult for us, at the same time, I'm sure we can all relate to this. COVID, in terms of numbers, boosted the cigar industry.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I did like in my accessory. I really wasn't selling cigars then. It was my accessory business. Crazy. So yeah.
Yeah. And so every week I would feature sampler pack this, discounted as much as I can, but also like not where we're like really feeling it. So we would try to interview that manufacturer or that rep for that week. So I would do the interview like after I get off work on like a Wednesday and say, okay, do your curbside pickup Friday, Saturday if you want to pick up this special sampler pack. And so kind of kept it alive, met some new customers through that, people I'd never met before. They're like, hey, I heard about your shop. I'm coming up for a curbside pickup. And then when we got to actually sit down with those people, we started kind of gaining that clientele. So I would say the first year and a half was scary. It did help to have a second job, but I would also say like, again, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. So that really, really helped. But it was definitely, someone asked me once, they're like, so do you ever like lie awake at night? And do you have any of those nights where you're just like, what did I get myself into? And I was like, not every night. Just about every night.
That was actually in my show notes to ask you that did you and your wife, was it like, what did we get ourselves into? You know?
Yeah. And she has a lot more faith than I do. And I'm the one that's always going over numbers and this. She's always the one that's, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. Like it'll be fine.
But the math isn't fine, you know. So like,
right.
Math would say no.
Yeah, math would say no. So when you you're building out your humidor, did you know what kind of shop you wanted to be? Some guys they open up a shop, they want to be mainstream. They want the Davidoff, the Fuente, the Padrones, the Drew Estate. Other shops, especially nowadays, I'm going just strictly boutique. That's it. Mm-hmm. And then they come to find out that's not always a good, you got to have a mix. What kind of shop did you want to be?
So it definitely, I was going off blind because, again, I didn't know a lot of cigar smokers. I would tune into YouTube channels and follow those, kind of get a feel. I would do the normal Google search, most popular cigars, stuff like that. Yeah. But by then I was about 8 years into like smoking, and I was like, this is what I know I enjoy, and this is what I definitely want on my shelf. And a lot was like, I want Foundation. I love Foundation cigars. At the time, I wanted Dunbarton. Wasn't doable because I didn't have a proper licensing and stuff. But we opened with things like Southern Draw, Foundation. We ordered a fair amount of some mainstream brands that I don't want to name. They just did not work out for us. And it was kind of like I did a Facebook poll when opening, like, what cigars do you want to see? And a few of those names popped up. They just weren't really our shop. And someone had said, they're like, you're kind of in a tourist destination area. You may want to look at like possibly like having an elevated experience. And I'm like, yes, but at the same time, I think when someone picks up a cigar, if it's one that's like really good, like I can stand behind it, but you maybe not going to see it around everywhere, they'll remember that place in Oak Glen had this really good cigar. And so we leaned really heavy, and it's been kind of like a pendulum swing. We lean heavy into boutiques, and then we found some mainstreams that work for us. So like Drew Estate, I would classify as a bit more of it's not like heritage, but it's a bigger brand. So we do carry Drew Estate and a lot of their lines like Hoya and such like that. But about 80% are kind of the social media driven, like really interesting boutique side of things. And honestly, because we invested so much into those and like writing blogs, because it's all about education. People can hear about Stolen Throne. Sure. Who smoked it? Well, I don't know. And so it's like, okay, let's tell the backstory. Let's interview the owner. Let's get into the blend. Why is this so good? Why does this make it different than the others? How is a company like Stolen Throne able to launch an entire company off of one single blend? Like there's something here. So stuff like that has really helped. And so we write a weekly blog about like 3 articles that we post on Facebook and our major blog on our website to kind of just, it's all about education of the consumer and really like if you go into our humidor, below, instead of just having the price, you have the name of the cigar, the company, the wrapper, the binder, the filler, the strength, the price on every cigar. So that way, I remember what helped me when I was getting into it. I learned, okay, Connecticut broadleaf is a tobacco I really enjoy. So what other Connecticut broadleaf should I try? So that kind of helps when people are like, San Andreas, I'm all about it. Then I'll be like, okay, here's some other San Andreases. Try these. You might really enjoy them, basically.
Yeah, that's why I'm a big proponent of people keeping cigar journals, writing down what you like, what you don't like. Because then if you go into your tobacconist, even if you don't know anything about cigars, I tell people, give him your journal. Let him flip through your journal. And then, but they'll same thing. I'll be like, oh, I see you like Connecticut broadleaf. And you'll be like, oh, I do? Even if you don't know, you may not know, you just get these cigars. Like, oh yeah, hey, you obviously really like, or you like Mexican San Andreas, let's get you on that, and then we can recommend some more cigars for you. So
exactly. And I think we all start at that point. At least I know I did. Was like, I think there's 3 types of cigars. There seems to be Connecticut, sun-grown, and Maduro. And so it's like, and then you learn there's so many other things what that encompasses. But yeah, so that really helped. And I a big proponent of that education is I wish I had someone that I knew personally that could have walked me through that, because you would have learned probably a lot more than you did, although I like learning organically. At the same time, you'd save a lot of money because you realize where your palate's at.
I was the same way. I started smoking cigars. I saw my buddy's dad. I was a car guy, always building something, working with my buddy. His dad was always smoking a cigar, but it was an unbanded. It was always just, he wasn't a cigar nerd. He was just a cigar, didn't know anything, zero about cigars. He liked whatever cheap cigar he was smoking, and I wanted to look cool. So I started smoking cigars, and I fell in love with cigars. And but I didn't have any friends. So my friends were the Thompson Cigar Catalog and the Cigars Internet. That's what, then I had Thompson Cigar in Tampa, a big place up there. And so, that was just my education and just trial and error. It's just, like this cigar was horrible. I wasted, a buck, or, a 10-pack or whatever. And,
the
but
biggest,
I same thing. I wish I'd, I wish I'd had someone else as well.
Right. And I remember about year 2 or so, I bought a 25-count box that cost me about $260, lit up one of those cigars, and I was like, oh, I don't really care for this. And I was like, well, there's a whole box of cigars that I just purchased. So I'm like, I want to have our customers, our community, avoid that type of situation. So that's why we've always been really I think as much as we can, active on social media, get messages. I have some people that have come in and they're like, hey, you recommend this is great. And then I'll be like, okay, here's this new release. And they'll be like, what do you think about it? And I'll even tell them, I would not recommend this to you. You're not going to enjoy it. Or some people, I'll have cigars that are not on the shelf. And my customers will come in and I was like, you're going to dig this. Check this out. So they'll light it up. Another person's like, you didn't recommend that to me. I was like, you wouldn't like it. That's not your profile. So I don't want you to just be like, well, it's new, buy it. No.
Well, that's it. Because, if you recommend that cigar, and then the next time that guy's not going to listen to you, or he may listen to you a second time, but not hey, like I said, you gave me that cigar last time and I hated it. And what, I'm not going to listen to you again.
That's you lose trust, right? Because we always say, did you recommend this because you are either A, you're terrible at reading your customer, B, you don't know what you're talking about, or C, you got to sell the cigar, so you're just trying to push it off on me because you want to move it.
Right. Exactly.
That's it. That's why some people, especially like bigger lounges, I'll tell you, you'll go in on a Monday, they'll recommend one cigar. You can go in on a Friday, they'll recommend a completely different cigar. Yeah. It's the end of the week. What do they got to? What has to move? So.
And then you get those. The danger I run is I get the cigars that I absolutely love so much that I have a hard time not recommending it to people. Like good examples, El Pulpo by Artesano Del Tobacco.
Yeah.
Such a good cigar. And I'm like, I wish you liked stronger cigars because this cigar is so good. But it's like, you can't recommend it to people who like mild. So
You know, it is, and it's such a fantastic cigar. And I love Billy and Gus. You know, have you had them on your show? Have you interviewed them?
Not yet. In fact, when we go to PCA, that's one of the conversations I have to have with them.
Oh, Billy and Gus are fantastic. I mean, just like super kind people. Like either one of them, like they'll just call me. Like they called me up like a week ago. I was at my day job and just want to see how I was doing, how Jessica was doing. You know, just like what's what's going on in your lives. You know, and we just chatted for a few minutes. And he's like, "All right, you know, cool. It's good hearing from you again." And you know, they're just good people. But we were big proponents of the Viva La Vida when it came out. That cigar crushed it. And like I said, and they could have capitalized on that, you know, like a lot of other cigar makers do. Hey, we got like this hit cigar. Let's just put out a whole bunch of other cigars. And they didn't. It's been like what, 3 years?
It's a great cigar.
Yeah. Three years. Now they're just now coming out with a new one. They did send Jessica the new ashtray, which is beautiful. Oh my god.
Yes. We actually we have a raffle for one of those ashtrays. It is one of the coolest.
Oh, how do you get in for people? How do they get in on the raffle?
So currently we're doing a box special. I mean, and that's another thing I like about El Pulpo is that it's a 10-count box, so it's a lot more accessible on the price. But when you buy a box of El Pulpo, then you get a raffle ticket, and then we're going to be calling the raffle, or at least announcing the winner Wednesday night. And so everyone who got a box from now until then will get that raffle ticket, and then will be sent free of charge the ashtray. The ashtray is like one of the coolest. It's super legit.
It's badass. It is so cool. But yeah, it's and that's since we're speaking of, well, I said in your, so talking about you can order online. Talk us through how that process went. You know, like, so how far into it were you in? Was it right after COVID? You know, like I said, you're doing the drive up. You're like, hey, we've got to go online.
Yeah, I was trying various different ways to make that happen. And then I have to give a huge shout out to Tim Swanson of Cigars Daily. We had been talking back and forth. I had visited him before, like just an awesome guy. And so I called him and I was like, I need to go full time with this. I'm also struggling because we're brick and mortar. How do I get online? So he walked me through that process for a good like 2 or 3 months. And so we have a guy that, like, of course, is our web developer. He gets all our ducks in a row, service and all that. But then when it comes to inventory, product info, and like pictures and stuff, that's all my wife and I. She was a photographer, a freelance photographer. So she and I kind of do all the video and the pictures. And that's steadily grown. I mean, that's grown with the membership. That's steadily grown with our footprint. And really, our biggest thing is like, we try our best to match, especially in the cigars that we carry, that match like the best prices you're going to find around. But at the same time, like a direct connection to us. It's not going to be a phone line. You're not going to get a customer service rep. The business phone, our Instagram, our Facebook, it's all directly to myself and my wife. So it's a direct line to us. If there's any issues or any questions before ordering, then they have that personal touch. But that, I will say, like, if you imagine the struggles of trying to get a brick and mortar known in your central area, now online you're like this big and your world is huge. So it's like, how do you organically, because you cannot advertise tobacco, how do you organically grow that? And so social media has been a big part of that. Our emails are a big part of that. And really kind of a deep dive into SEO and all of how to become some of the research results, and some of that is been the long journey. So all good, but very tedious.
Yes, you know, so my son is a web designer, so he developed our website, and just last week or 2 weeks ago, we're gonna completely redo the website. It's been up for a couple of years. I like it, but I told him it's time for a change. So he came over and he's like, "What are you looking for?" I pulled up 2 tabs on my computer, 2 online retailers, yours and Smoke Inn. And I go, this is what I like about both of these. You know, I'm like, obviously, I'm not going to copy your website, but I'm like, I love how this, I mean, it flows. It's very intuitive. And out of all the cigar websites out there, yours and Smoke Inn were the only 2
I really appreciate that. That's a high compliment. And thank you very much for the kind words. I definitely, our web developer did the exact same thing. He's like, what I want you to do is I want you to send me some of the websites that you like. What are the elements you like of it? What are the elements you don't like? And of course, just like on anything, it's like, hey, I like this, but I don't care for how this function is. And it's just easier, I think, to have that visual instead of being like, well, I'm thinking this, I'm thinking that, going back and forth. It's like, it's just easier to be like, here's the picture of what I'm looking at. This is what I want to do with it. So that's, like I said, that's a high compliment, because I got a lot of my inspiration similar, exact same way. I like this part, I like this and that. So cool.
Yeah, exactly. You just build it, and then how about as your I come to find out, not all payment processors will deal with tobacco. So that was another one, which is like, oh, I just can't use PayPal. I can't use this or that. And it's like, nope. And it's like,
so that was something that really helped. Tim was also instrumental with, because he was like, here is the version that I'm using right now. And he's always like revamping everything every year and stuff. He's like, but this is a good place to start if you're at the volume that you're at. So we went with that. Originally, when we were brick and mortar, we did Square, and then Square one day was just like, we're not going to keep your inventory anymore. So it would reduce inventory. It was just, so we had to transfer all of that. And our actual like POS in shop, it's a little bit of a dinosaur. It needs to be updated. But it functions in a good inventory way of our online and our brick and mortar, and it synergizes pretty well.
Yeah, you're in store, as long as you can ring customers out in a timely manner. At the end of the day, who cares what, you can have.
Sometimes the dinosaurs are the best thing.
Yeah, because they're easy. Yeah. You can have an old-timey cash register, and as long as you can, ring people out, that's all that makes a difference. Just take that credit card. That's all you need.
Exactly. So the biggest challenge. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Eric. I got a question for you when you're done.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, the biggest problem with the dinosaur though is like something that I had told my wife from the beginning. I was like, we're doing this all the time, and I think we're gonna have to open up another day. We're contemplating 7 days a week for our brick and mortar. We're all day online, of course, but brick and mortar, we're 6 days now. And we were blessed with finding somebody to run the shop for us on Sundays. That was always like a high priority, is try to have one of the days off. But teaching an old POS to an employee has its own set of challenges.
I can imagine,
especially if they come from any other business, especially like any other in the retail side, a Walmart, a Target, a whatever, a Public, and then they come and you're like, what are you using here? It's But
exactly.
we got Charlie here. You seem knowledgeable and articulate communicator as it comes to cigars are concerned. Keep up your messaging and good service. You will find your lane. I'm sure your brick and mortar will get more bricks, brother. Oh, thank you so much, Charlie.
The question I had for Eric, Kev, was something that you and I always talk about with cigars and a humidor is, what are your personal feelings and flavor profiles, likes or dislike of Candela, and do you carry it in your humidor, and does it sell?
Very good questions, and I feel like only people that have really done the deep dive into Candelas have really like considered it, because a lot of people are, Candela, what's that? We've carried a few. I'm currently waiting on the Wasabi. It's one of my favorite Candelas out there.
Oh, great Candela.
Good cigar.
I really enjoy that. We've of course gotten like the Filthy Hooligans, the Shamrocks. They'll come through. I have 2 customers that like Candela out of our brick and mortar. At least 2 that have actually tried it. Most of my customers have no idea what it is, or they'll be like, I'm interested to try that. I will also say you threw up a graphic of Jake Wyatt. I think they have one of the better Candelas on the market.
They got a good Candela. Kerr, who did we have on the show? Apostate. Apostate, man, they make a killer Candela.
Is that the Fettered Serpent?
Yeah.
Yes.
That they do. Okay, I haven't tried it. I know of it, but I haven't tried that one.
It's worth a try.
Okay.
It really is an exceptional Candela.
Okay. Now I
It
take
is.
it then, Kerr, are you a fan of Candela then?
Oh, most definitely. I have two of my blends have Candela in it, a Candela Connecticut Barber Pole and a Candela San Andreas Barber Pole. But just in general, I know Kevin and I are both just fans of Candela, and always curious, especially when it comes to those in the industry, on their thoughts, whether they're a blender, manufacturer, or even at the cigar shop. Their experience with Candela and what do they think of it?
So what you got to do when people say what is Candela, you need to like screenshot some watch some old Hogan's Heroes episodes.
I sent you a picture the other day.
Yeah, you sent me. So all the cigars they smoked, they were Candelas, the American market selection. People like, oh, I never heard of Candela. I'm like, it's the only cigar that was smoked until the early 70s. Look at the Hogan's Heroes. It's a bright green cigar. That's what they were smoking.
Right. And I think that like most things in our shop, like my palate leans towards the more medium plus to full side, I would say. There's, of course, a caveat to that, like most things, like with my wife as well. Corojo 99 from Aganorsa, whether we see it in HVC, we see it in Illusione. Like, I love that tobacco, and that can be in medium, mild, whatever. But I try to, because we're working with real estate space on the shelves, try to have like either from consensus from our customers or what we see on social media or our palates, like what are some of the better selections of those tobaccos. And so Candela is one of those things I have nothing against. I have had some that I do not enjoy, but again, like the Wasabi, fantastic cigar. So it's just getting the right one, I think, for our clientele.
Yeah. I mean, I would open up a shop and I would have 12 different Candelas that would never sell. They would just sit there all the time. I understand that. So it's one of those cigars that most shops are going to keep one or
Candelas
two.
and Lanceros. That's what I have a whole wall of just Candelas and Lanceros. This is my two favorites.
I just wrote that down. Lancero. That was my next one. How's your Lancero clientele?
It's funny because I was about to say I kind of feel the same way about Lanceros. I will say this: when we have a good one, it won't stay on the shelf. And I know that's somewhat rare for a brick and mortar, but like prime example, the Morphine from Black Label dropped this last fall. That Lancero like just lights out. Everyone enjoyed it. Flavor was fantastic. And of course, we've all heard probably that that common thread of, well, it's a tight draw, won't stay lit. The Morphine really minimized construction issues. So there's that one. We still have like 8 of them, I think, left, but I keep them off the shelf hidden for the people who really, really want them. We've had a few Lanceros that have really hit and then some that haven't. And so when we come across good ones, we have the clientele to brick and mortar that really enjoy them.
That's good. I know just from my experience, it seems like when I would travel or even the folks that, that carry my Lanceros, it's like some spots are just hot and some are not.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of cigar shops that just sell the crap out of Lanceros.
Yeah.
And there's others that will sit there and collect a bunch of dust, and it could be the best cigar on the market, but no one would ever pick it up.
And there could be, and Kerr, you've seen it, shops in the same town. One will be one. I'm not just Lanceros. It could be Dunbarton. One shop could sell the crap out of it, and the other shop can't sell it. Same with Lanceros. Same with everything else. What about like the big ring gauge cigars in your shop? Are you 6x60 kind of crowd?
I would say maybe about 20% of our clientele is bigger ring gauge. Maybe 20 to 30%. Maybe I'm being too conservative about it. But again, it has to. I feel like the 6x60s we have, I'm like this particular blend translates pretty well in the larger ring gauge. It's really unfortunate when you're like, oh, I love that rich, like chocolatey, and then it translates to a 6x60 is very airy, very just like blah. So some of the 6x60s, they lean more on the stronger side because you have so much filler tobacco. I feel like some of the Connecticut's in that size, like the Brulee, we've carried it in that size. Obviously, Robusto and Toro will outsell it any day of the week. Yeah. So
yeah.
Now, Aganorsa, you like Aganorsa? They just what did they have? They're launching at PCA the 10 by 100.
10 by 100. I saw that video.
Yeah,
and I did not see what's his name. He had it lit, and he was talking about it, but I did not see him take a draw.
Oh, Terrence.
Yeah. Oh no, you as a man, no, as a man or woman, you can't be seen on camera putting that in your mouth.
No,
that's
he was
not,
holding it.
Because
that was awkward enough.
given the right footage and the right camera angle, I'm screenshotting that. I won't put that on social media, but I'll have Kerr Photoshop the shit out of that and send that to Terrence.
I was waiting for a screenshot moment too, and I'm like, "Come on, Terrence, put it in your mouth." Put it in your mouth, Terrence. I'm like, "Son of a bitch!" It looks like he's getting ready to do some sort of artificial insemination of a horse.
I like he's gonna club somebody. I want to feel it though. I want because like I said,
it just makes me feel uncomfortable. You just saying that.
Yeah, I know. I just want to feel the girth of it. I don't, I can't even
more disturbing.
We can't even.
You're going the opposite direction.
We can't even talk about the cigar, let alone smoke the cigar.
You can't say girth in a conversation when you're talking about wanting to grab
Because then
something.
And it starts going down the train of, well, yeah, that wrapper leaf, it's very veiny. It's a little like, oh, come on.
Oh, that's it. So we're gonna pivot there, and
Erik, do you watch Skinwalker Ranch?
Yeah, okay, yeah. Manny is on. Are you an Oak Island or Skinwalker Ranch lover? You ever watch those shows?
Actually, I don't.
Okay, Manny. Manny's waiting for us to get a guest that so he can talk about the aliens and the Ark of the Covenant and everything else. So sorry, Manny.
I have a lot of customers that talk about that for sure.
Yeah,
all the time, daily basis.
All right, Manny, you got to get yourself out to Glen Tobacconist out there in California, and so you can just hang out there all day, and you can set up a group herf.
Oak Glen, and you can watch Oak Island at Oak Glen.
Oh, there you go, Manny. That's a tie-in. So you talked earlier about you started a podcast. Tell us a little bit about your the podcast, the Cigars and Cinema.
Yeah, so that also is rooted a lot into the theater company as well. So it's funny because you have the whole like cigar side of a brick and mortar shop, and then you have the side of hospitality. Like we're also here so that people can enjoy themselves, they can relax after a long day, enjoy the weekend. So one of the investments in that is that, I mean, our tagline is where conversation lights up. We don't have any TVs in our lounge. So it's more of you sit down, you're in conversation with people, you talk with people, and those conversations can kind of go into topics that we were just talking about. They can go into religious topics, all these different things that sometimes that can be good, but of course, we're all cigar smokers, and every cigar smoker's got his opinion on this and that and that. So movies are like the safe platform when things are getting really passionate. I'll be like, hey, did you see that new movie? And people are like, yeah, actually, I don't know. So movies we talk about it all the time. And just like a cigar, a movie has 3 acts, act 1, act 2, act 3. A movie has first, third, final, third, first, third, second, third, and final.
I never thought about it like that. That is,
yeah. So we analyze the cigar while we analyze the movie, and we typically try to pick some topical films. My co-host is a friend of mine. We've been friends for 10 plus years. He's really heavy into the movie game, but it's kind of cool because he's somewhat new to the cigar game. So I can kind of introduce him to a lot of new stuff. He has very diverse opinions. Like he personally doesn't care for AJ Fernandez blends that much. I love them. So that's always a talking point back and forth. And I'll get him sometimes because I'll send him a cigar and he's like, actually, that's really good. I was like, funny fact, that's rolled at AJ Fernandez factory. And he's like, oh, well, So I'm like, there's definitely ones you might like out there. But we just launched it. I think we're only on episode 12. We do some shows live. We do some recorded. But it's a really, really cool experience because we can be just more free talking because it's not as moderated as bad. And we agree on some movies, disagree on some, just like the cigars, and hopefully give a good opinion on both.
Now,
Kevin, you could go on the show and talk about the vice versa, and and liken that to a Tarantino movie.
Yeah,
Oh,
starting
for sure.
back, starting
Started
backwards.
starting. You can cut it, start in the middle. You can start at either end.
Yeah, Tarantino movies. Those are, that's always a big, people love them or hate them. But
Exactly.
but anybody watching tonight, listening to this podcast in the future, in the show notes are all the social media links to Glen Tobacconist. If you want to listen to the podcast, Cigars and Cinema podcast, the link is in the description below.
Awesome.
Clickable link, so you can check it out. You don't have to remember anything after the show. You can come back. Everything is in the video description, so you can check out the podcast. You can check them out on social media as well. So, do you guys have a genre of movies that you like to talk about, or is it just like I said, just new stuff? Are you doing old stuff?
So we actually try to keep it more like we're trying to pull, and if anyone has any suggestions, we're trying to pull what people would want us to analyze. And we break it down in a very like simple plot point Aristotle analysis. So it's pretty understandable. There's some movies that he will pick that I'm like, I don't really care to even review this movie, but let's give it a try. So it's not just like handpicked of what I want. So there's that side of it. Like for example, we reviewed a movie called Extraction, #2. I don't know if you've heard of this movie.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know they made a number. I hadn't seen the. I knew I heard about the first one. I mean, obviously we saw it. But I didn't know they made a sequel.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say I was not a fan of this movie. So we kind of review things that we don't even care for. Then there's some that we absolutely love. Like this probably sounds cliche, but we reviewed Mad Max Fury Road. I'm a big fan of that movie. So the best thing about it is that all movies are so subjective. Mm-hmm. So that the minute you say, I love this movie, and people were like, well, hold on, that's not really a good movie, or vice versa. And it really gets some interesting conversations going.
Yeah.
So
Extraction 2 was one of those movies we called just a mindless movie where you just sit back and just watch it and don't have to put a lot of thought into it.
Yes.
Yeah,
I agree 100%.
Entertainment.
So Jessica's not a big fan of watching movies with me, because like I love science. I'm very mechanical, so I get frustrated, when they get the technical part wrong or the science wrong. Not like science is like Neil deGrasse Tyson. He watches, all the movies. He's like, oh, Interstellar, they got this wrong or this, that. I'll be watching something. I'm like, that's not even physically possible. I mean, that's just, if you take the weight of A, going over a ramp, there's no possible way that car, or this or that. And it's like, no, I think it was a stupid episode years ago. It was Smallville, Superman, Clark Kent. He's in a cave. But he's Clark Kent, and this big rock falls down, and it hits him on the back, and the rock splits in two. And I'm like, why would the rock split in two? Because he's Superman. It would just roll off of him. It's like a 2-ton rock. It just wouldn't split in half. And I'm like, freaking out over this moment. And why can't you just like the show? No.
That's the Sheldon argument over Superman catching Lois Lane. He said at her trajectory falling, if he would have caught her, it would have sliced her in three. She would have been cut in thirds.
Exactly. So you're not a big fan of like when there's like these macho people and they're getting their guns ready and then they start racking it like 9 times and the guns are clicking and
the pump shotgun always annoys me. Whenever they pump it, I'm like, oh, so you're walking around with nothing in the chamber?
You're nothing like nothing came out. That's why I really like the John Wick, because I really started reading into like the behind the scenes. And like I said, if the gun only holds nine rounds, he only shoots 9, and you're going to see him reload every single time. You're going to see him reload properly, and then you're going to count, because I'm a big bullet counter, on guns. Like in Old West, I'm like, I know it only holds 6 shots. We were watching R.I.P.D. 2, which was a horrible movie, horrible. But you know, the 6-shooter, like he shoots like 12 times. Like, what is going on here?
And it's funny because I'm that way when it comes to story structure, when it comes to plot point and stuff like that. Like so many people, because I didn't like graduate from college or anything, but I took several film classes, and everyone's like, "Man, that really messed you up." And I was like, "Why?" Like, because you can't enjoy any movies. And I was like, I can definitely enjoy it when it's done right. Yeah, but there's okay. Now I know this is going to be probably extremely controversial because it is the biggest argument at our shop to date. I am not a fan of the movie Tombstone.
No, I liked Wyatt Earp better.
I've never seen it.
Okay, you saved yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen Tombstone. It's entertaining. Val Kilmer's great, wonderful. It has all the stars in it. But I am a fan of Wyatt Earp more so than I am of Tombstone because of at least the attempt of the accuracies of historical events.
Cool. All right. I was expecting maybe bullets being fired and stuff because that's what happens at my
No. I mean, I'll watch Tombstone, and it's like, you know,
Sure.
it's one of those movies that all the women love and everything. But I'd take Kevin Costner's Wyatt Earp over what's his face,
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell. Yeah.
So yeah. I love you know, being a content creator. I love I'm always studying how to make my videos better. Like I love the lighting in your videos. It's fantastic. I'm always fiddling with lighting. When we built the new lounge, I'm hoping I got the lighting down. So I'm watching a movie. I'm a big rewinder and pausing it. And then just like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? I go, I love how they set up this scene. I go, look at where the camera angle is, how the guy lit this scene. And I go, this is beautiful. The guy that did the color correction, and I'm looking past, so I'm behind that camera now, and just trying to figure out how the hell they got this scene, how they lit it, and everything else, and which annoys her as well, you know. So I'm always looking at that.
Yeah, I think that's where John Wick 4 gets its high marks for me. Is the cinematography and color palette is pretty stunning. Like, I mean, I like too when a movie will take color palette and help tell the story that way. And I feel like in John Wick 4, a lot of the choices when you have the reds and you have the greens and kind of what it's conveying through its imagery, I really enjoy. So
that's why I like Tarantino's movies. Not all of them are equal. But I think Inglourious Bastards, the opening scene, that first 15 minutes, in my opinion, is probably the most frightening 15 minutes in cinematic history with no monsters. There is a monster, but no special effects. Just two men sitting in a French cottage countryside. It's just the terror in that moment and the gameplay in that moment is palpable. Yeah,
it totally is. And it's funny with that scene, and Kevin, as you were saying, like kind of with content creating stuff, I still want to this day film some kind of cigar something. But Tarantino, I've noticed he's done it in multiple of his films, including that scene. He's got a top-down light directly on the actual table that reflects onto the actors. And I'm like, the amount of smoke that gets exposed on camera, I'm like, I need like 3 or 4 guys having some conversation about a cigar, top-down light, and like,
when they're smoking their pipes. It's
I was just talking to my buddy that does a lot of the like the little videos for Drew Estate and some other companies, and I had mentioned that as well. And I go, I love that. I go, we've got to figure out, same as you, how to just recreate that cool smoke effect and that lighting, because it's amazing.
I'll have to make a trip out to Florida and we'll film it or something.
Definitely will. And then reading books and then hating the movies, you know, because they filmed like when I saw, which I didn't see it for years, when Tom Cruise did the Lee Child when he was Jack Reacher, and I hate it. I go, Jack Reacher is 7'1", 300 pounds in the book, and you got Tom Cruise, you know, and it's just like, just not, you know, I couldn't do it. You know?
Yeah.
So
Tom Cruise ain't
I think the only movie I think that I can say like I enjoyed thoroughly more as a movie than the book was Jaws. I tried reading that book. No, it didn't work for me.
So yeah. I years ago, we watched when Passion of the Christ came out. So we went up and saw that in the theater. We were walking out, and my wife at the time, she goes, "So what'd you think?" I go, "It was okay, but I really liked the book better." And then
100%.
I got the groans from the other people in that were walking out with us, and I'm like, it was a good joke, you know. And then I'm telling you, I mean, on my grave, it's true. We walked out to the car, and I had a flat tire. You know, so I'm telling you, you can ask her. It's true. I'm like, and then she big Christian. That's what you get. That's what you get. She sat in the car while I changed the tire and put the spare on, and I'm like, all right, it was a good joke. It was worth it, you know. So I don't care. So, but you have I think I read somewhere like on your Facebook profile, you also have projector nights at the at your lounge. So what is that? You're showing a movie? Is it inside the lounge? Are you outside?
It's actually outside, inside, like I should say outside, inside. During the cold time, our like tent works as a good insulation. We got heaters going on in there. But it's the projector is always being set out outside, and it's the emphasis on it is because all our clientele know we have no TVs going on. So it's like, oh yeah, well once a week we'll meet together. Maybe I'll try to pull something really special. We'll do a cigar deal, but it's free admission, and then we'll watch a movie. And it sometimes is themed, like we did, of course, Die Hard during Christmas. Sometimes it's not. And yeah, it's pretty cool because likewise, when the film ends, then the conversation starts and they'll be like, Eric, what'd you think about it? I've got a few friends that are also just super like analytical of watching it. And so I'll ask their opinion, and we'll be there an hour and a half after the movie. It's going on like 10:30, just talking about, well, I thought this and I thought that. So it's cool.
So kind of like a book club, you know, just sitting around and analyzing it. So
is the argument is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Or
I was going to say it, Kerr. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
In my opinion, and I'm willing to back it up with what I consider to be like plot point facts, it is a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
I do think it is. I remember I can't remember some cigar rep was on Instagram and they're like, I don't understand. It definitely is not. And I was like, what? So I think it is.
Speaking of cigars and movies, so next time you're talking to Terrence Riley, bring up Grandpa Joe from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Terrence Riley will go on for like 20 minutes telling you how much of a piece of shit Grandpa Joe is. You know, and Terrence hates Grandpa. Sit in a bed for 20 years, milking the family while it's poor, and then you get a ticket. So bring that up next time, Grandpa Joe.
Okay, I will.
Terrence Riley, you've got to. He will go off on a tangent, and it's just like it's hilarious. So
tell him like work that into a promo. Like an Aganorsa stick will make you get out of bed from 20 years and get you on
the golden ticket.
The golden ticket. All right, let's talk a little bit about cigars. I mean, we're like this is like the Nick Melillo show. We're an hour 48. We haven't really delved into cigars too much. Let's talk about your the Cigar Society membership, because you're doing something really unique that I'm not finding anywhere else in the cigar community, which I love because everybody copies everybody else and it's hard to come up with something new. So tell everybody about the Cigar Society membership.
Yeah. So it started off with kind of like on three, like several different principles, I should say. I don't know if it's three. One, the biggest one was aging cigars. I started noticing in especially like the social media boutique community of cigars, this like premium being put on aged cigars. Like, hey, we're releasing this. It's 2 years aged, which I totally think is awesome. But then I was like, as a consumer, that's what got me into cigars. I feel like a lot of time people don't necessarily know, like, what does it mean to age? How do I age a cigar? What does that do? So the concept was like, let's kind of create a vehicle to make it easier to make that happen. A very common feedback in this industry too is I would hear like, we got a limited dropping at this time. People would pick up one cigar, maybe two, and they would either not want to smoke it because they only have one, or they would smoke one and be like, I've only got one left and now they're sold out. I wish I could get more. So using those two principles, we said, hey, let's do a monthly subscription where you get a 5-pack of a single blend from some of like the most popular and favorite blenders and companies from our humidor that we've carried, and some who have not been in our humidor, but just like, let's see their talent showcased in this way of maybe it's a custom blend, it's a custom Vitola, or it's just their limited release, and make it accessible so that if you're a member, you're not worrying about, oh, did I jump on the email in time? Did I get on this on time? So it kind of frees that up. And so you get a 5-pack of that blend. We smoke the first one all together at the shop, which is also on YouTube Live. So if you're out of the state, we have a lot of members on the East Coast. There's some members in the Midwest. And so they can jump on live and we can throw around like, I get this note, I get this experience, it's this strong. Smoke it all together. And once that's done, you understand that cigar, you still have 4 more, like you did, Kevin. Either pass it on to a friend, save it for later, or also try to at least put 1 or 2 away and see what that's like maybe in a year, see what that's like maybe in 2 years, and even like build up your humidor portfolio that way. So we kind of launched that way, and making it that accessible and having it at an affordable rate in terms of a 5-pack, because that way, if you really, really enjoy it, hopefully you might want to explore some of the other blends that the manufacturer does, but you're not in for a full box. And yeah, it's just been kind of building that up. And so we've had amazing blends like the Shafio, which we're smoking now. I absolutely love his stuff. We did a custom job with him last year. And at the end of the year, like everybody in this industry, they always have their top 10 or top 25 of the year. So we've always done it to where our members and our community, they can send in a ballot. We add up all the votes, and then we say, okay, this was the popular favorite of OGT Cigars.
Okay.
So Shafio got the vote last year. So we returned this year with another one from him.
So right on. So how, were companies really receptive? Because you're still a small shop.
Right.
Going to a company like Aganorsa, Shafio, like, hey, we want a custom blend or a custom Vitola, and obviously you're not ordering 5,000, 10,000. Your orders are much smaller. Were they really receptive to that, or like, who are you?
Exactly. So we really tried it first with the companies that we established good relationships, good rapport with, and they had seen. Like what was really cool is our rep for certain brands like Black Label and Espinosa out here. His name is Tim Wong, awesome guy. And I would open orders with him like, we'll do an order like this big and let's give it a try. And now they've become flagships in our humidor because he's like, I've noticed about you and your shop is that you're not in it for buying a brand, putting it on the shelf, and it better sell itself. It's like you help grow the brand in your shop and the awareness. And that's always been kind of spearheaded. So in that same vein, some people were really receptive to that. And they're like, hey, this will give us an opportunity to kind of find another avenue of exposure. And we also know that your clientele, they are cigar enthusiasts. They really enjoy it. They get into that blend. So some of them we did from simple LEs, like we became a select account with Aganorsa. So we were like, let's do the Anniversario when it first dropped, only available to select accounts. We would start it that way. I think our first custom blend we did, I think like 6 months in, because before it was like some boutique stuff. And we did it with a company called Cigar Clowns, and that went over really well. And then like Shafio gave him a call and he's like, I like the idea. Let's do it. And so as our members and our footprint increases, the doors start opening more. So we did a recent like full-on custom with Aganorsa that had been aging for about 2 years. It's a phenomenal Corojo 99. Absolutely love it. 6x48. And so it's awesome and also humbling to see like, okay, let's get this off the ground. We've got about 15 members and see that multiply and multiply and multiply. And I'm not going to say like, oh yeah, we're this huge thing, but it's it's great to have people join our community because we have more opportunities open up when that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you did one with I saw you did an interview with Paul Stulak. Now
Yes.
Kerr's a big fan of Paul Stulak. Like Paul said, he doesn't do things like this. How did you reach out and get Paul Stulak to do a custom cigar for you?
A lot had to do with that type of friendship basis. We had carried some of his stuff, and I got a hold of his number, and we were just talking back and forth. And I was like, look, if we commit to this type of minimum, which was pretty small, I would love to do something broadleaf with you because all your Connecticut broadleaf, I'm a big fan of. And there's something special you got going there. And he was like, yeah, let's give it a try. So we went through several different blends, finally landed on the one that we really enjoyed. It was also a 6x48. I love that thin ring gauge. It's not quite a Lonsdale. It's not quite a Toro. But it was a Connecticut broadleaf, binder of Criollo 98 and fillers of Nicaragua. Stronger, like that sweeter, like pepper spice up front, then creamier center. And it went over really well. And I think a thing that worked for him too is he's like, I've got this wrapper. I don't have enough to build a brand around it, but I should have enough to cover the cigars you want. And so he blended it up, and he's like, it was a cool project for me because I want people to smoke this tobacco, but I'm not going to launch a whole brand off of it. And so that like came and went. The good news is we got the last batch coming in, so we're letting it age a little bit more. And so later on in the year, I think our Stulak broadleaf will return for a short time, just available for purchase, not through the membership. But that was an awesome project.
Yeah,
I'll for that one.
Yeah, I said the same here because Kerr got me on Paul Stulak.
He makes some good cigars.
He's got great
Yeah,
stuff.
He's made some great. Now you've got something new. You just created a video. Have you blended a cigar? That's kind of a cool project. I love what you got going on there. So and then can people still get in on that package?
So and what we're kind of reaching right now for because we try to project all of our numbers. The more that we've kind of got a consistency, it's easier to do that. In the beginning, you're just like trying to, okay, what can we pull? And so we've basically got all our memberships lined up until the end of the year. And with those numbers, it's like, fortunately for us, but unfortunately, we're going to be closing the membership on July 10th. It'll open up later on, probably the end of the year, next year. But I highly encourage anyone who's interested to jump on while it's open because it does close then. And today is the last day. If you want to join on to that box, we're almost sold out. And the concept is we teamed up with CLE and a guy named Adam Gard on social media, both awesome people. And you get 6 Fumas as well as 2 complete CLE cigars. And how that works is, I'm sure you guys have done the Aganorsa experience.
I haven't yet. Like I said, I've every time Terrence will put it on social media like the day of, the event. And it's just like, what? Like, give me like a week's notice, man. But yeah, I can't wait to do that with him.
It's nice. Pretty cool.
Yeah. So, and for those watching who don't know, the concept is you smoke that individual tobacco leaf, learn its traits. So they have like, Aganorsa has Corojo 99, Criollo 98, and Corojo 2012. You light it up. Okay, I taste it. Maybe halfway through, light the other one, see the differences, smoke them together, see how it blend works like together. And so that same concept through CLE, but the difference is they're like Pentella/Corona sizes. They're binder, wrapper, filler, all the same tobacco, all the same priming. So it's smoking a cigar that's purely 100% just that tobacco. And so there's 6 different kinds, and you smoke through those, and there's a list of how that works. We send a flavor wheel to help pick out flavors. You write your notes down as well as a QR code. And then when you scan that QR code, all of our members are going to choose like a rating system on each one. And then we compile all those together. Later on in the year, we're going to blend a cigar based on the favorite tobaccos. So it's the first like crowdsourced cigar, and all our members will get a 5-pack of that cigar blended.
That's cool.
That is really, really cool. Yeah. So anybody that wants to get in on that, definitely, like I said, links in the video description. You can definitely check that out, and then get in on the club. Like I said, it's unique, and that's hard to do in this industry anymore. Is just find something truly unique, that nobody else has done before. So I'm really, really digging on that.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
What about PCA next week? You going?
I am. Are you guys?
I'm I'm not. We're working on the lounge. We're getting
No.
it buttoned up. So unfortunately,
Okay.
I can't. Kerr and I are going next year. Me and him are heading out there. I went last year. That was my first one. Kerr and I are definitely going out there next year. Just at least just to hang out. Because I said other than that, I mean, I shot some stupid videos because I just wanted to hang out with all my friends, and that was it. So are you going? What's the ratio of you going as a content creator versus a brick and mortar owner?
So I wish I could say they're pretty evened out. I get a little tunnel vision because like in the beginning, our budget was like this small. So we'd go to a show and be like, okay, what is this even about? Like our first show we attended was TPE, and we had never been to a show before, didn't really understand the concept of like show deals and stuff like that because we were so new to the game. And so we've kind of found a formula that works of like how much product do we take advantage of? How much do we not need to? And so I try to do like 1 minute TikTok interviews with some of the products and some of the manufacturers that we carry just to enrich the experience. People will be like, okay, cool. I see this coming. Looking forward to it. What I'm trying to work on, and I've been trying to work on this for about a year, is when manufacturers come out to my shop or sometimes at TPE or PCA, I try to get like a 5-6 minute interview with them. And I want to compile it to like an hour-long pseudo documentary of like into like deep dive into cigars, where they are now, why the transformation's happening, how COVID hit, that sort of thing. So I try to pick up some of that stuff when I'm out there.
So that's cool. So were you out there last year as well?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then like, so last year's TPE would have been your first event was last year, or was it?
So TPE, actually February 2020, right before COVID hit. That was the first show we went to.
Okay. So that was did you take your wife out there as well?
Oh yeah. And she really helps as an anchor. Like someone was like, yeah, you could always like figure out a way, like maybe take the whole family and then so the wife can take the kids here. I'm like, no, I actually need her with me because sometimes I'm like, oh, that looks really good. And she'll be like, okay, but let's stay grounded. Or there's certain brands that I absolutely love and my palate's different. And then there's brands she loves. So then we'll kind of be like, okay, as an agglomeration, if we're taking on anyone new, we'll smoke everything together and stuff. So she really is instrumental when we go to the shop or we go to the show.
So did you guys have any like fanboy, fangirl moments, like your first trade show? It's
like,
oh my god,
oh
my god, that's so and so. It's
Back then in 2020, Nick Melillo was the one I was like, I've got to talk to him. I've got to sit down and talk with him. So that was super cool. It was also like, again, we weren't even open a year, so it was like, that's Pete Johnson of Tatawahe. Like just like meeting him there and stuff. It's totally that, which is crazy.
I still get that way. I've known Pete for years. Like I said, last year's PCA, I was walking by, and it was he had saw me. He's like, oh hey Kevin, how's it going? And I'm like, oh my god, Pete Johnson said my name, and it's like, and I've known him for like 5 years, but I still get that way. Nick Melillo, I saw him at PCA, and I remember I pulled him off to the side. Because he's the whole Ethiopian, he's like the knight now and everything else. And I'm like, Nick, just between me and you, this isn't media. I go, did they show you the Ark of the Covenant? Did you get to see it? And he's like, no, they didn't show it to me. So it's, but yeah, Nick, I'm always excited to talk to Nick. He is such a great guy. Who's your white whale? Who's the one that you want to get the interview with or meet in person that you just haven't met yet?
That's a good question. I mean, I would love to, if one of the bigger projects, I was like, if I could ever get to sit down and have like an hour-long interview, like professionally filmed and all that sort of thing with Melillo, that would be awesome. Like that would be really, really cool. For a while there, like we weren't really carrying Drew Estate, but I was like, Pedro Gomez is the coolest dude out there.
Oh, so,
like, finally meeting him and I interviewed him and stuff. He was really cool. That's a really, really good question because I feel like a lot of my heroes in the cigar industry, if that's what you want to call them, were more on the smaller boutique side. So it's not like the huge entourage of like my booth is ginormous and you never really get to meet the person. I think it would be cool too to shake AJ's hand. I've never met him in person, so I've
I've never met him either. Like I said, and for me, it's I always like meeting people in person I want to see how tall they are. I don't know if it's a weird thing with me. It's like, it's like, oh, how tall are you? It's like, oh my God.
Like Michael
really
Herklotz.
Yeah. Michael's become such a good friend and
He's
just
awesome guy. Best dressed dude in the industry.
I know Michael Herklotz and Rick Rodriguez, two smallest guys with the biggest personalities, in the industry.
Yeah.
So all right. So I have one more question for. I can't believe it's been over 2 hours. It has just blown.
Time flies.
What cigars are on your not your consensus? What cigars are on your list for like cigar of the year? What I know we're halfway through the year. A lot of people have I got my list going on here. Okay. I have it on my whiteboard. But what's on your radar? So
does that include at the same time like limited drops and core line stuff like together? Or
that could be it's your list. It could be anything you want.
Okay. It's your palate.
I tend to throw them all together just because I'm like I feel, and a lot of people disagree with me on this, but I'm like, if it's a cigar I smoked this year, whether it's limited, core line, whatever, I feel like it deserves to be somewhere on the list because I smoked it this year. So some of the names that I definitely have going on for me, and this is going to sound really biased, but the Freedom Fighter that we smoked this evening is definitely up there. I love that cigar. It's an anytime cigar. It's medium plus, like great sweetness. I love Brazilian Matafina wrapper, so it just hits a lot of criteria for me. So I really do enjoy that cigar. I'm a huge fan of Foundation Olmec, the Maduro, like any day of the week. This is such a great cigar. El Pulpo is up there for me as well. I can pick that up anytime, and it's a hard one to get away from. And I would probably say maybe the Madonna from Black Label. Black Label is always on my list, like in terms of brands. Like I'm always going back to that brand. So I'm a huge fan of that cigar as well.
Yeah, the Olmec, it's up there for me. Same with the Alec Bradley double broadleaf. That cigar,
I haven't tried that yet.
That cigar blew me away. As soon as I wasn't a quarter of the way through that cigar, and I already wrote it on my whiteboard. Like that. That's on there. But that Olmec, that Olmec is fantastic.
Yes. Now, do you personally have any worries or any feeling on the fact that you love that double broadleaf and now it's being taken over by General? Like, do you think that will change it at all or no?
No, I don't think it would. It's not worrying me only because, like I said, because of Alec Bradley, that maybe a smaller company. Like I love Matt Booth. He's a friend of mine. I'm a little concerned, on some of the blends because he does use, like he doesn't make tens of thousands of cigars. So I'm worried on a couple of the cigars, like they're possibly going to change those or reblend those to maybe have more stable, tobacco inventory. So that, maybe a couple of his blends I'm a little nervous on. But Alec Bradley, I said, Alan Rubin, he's spent his career doing this, so on Alec Bradley, I'm not concerned on any of that. Yeah. That's an established brand, an established tobacco inventory. If anything is going to change, it's going to be 5 years from now, when maybe when they stop buying, if he's buying from smaller farms, maybe they're going to stop doing that. So, 5 years that might change. So, but Kerr, any final thoughts, questions for our guest tonight?
No, man, this time flew by. Appreciate the time, Eric, and much continued success and luck on all of your endeavors. It sounds like you got a lot going on there, and it's all great stuff and fantastic.
I appreciate it. I mean, thank you guys for having me on. It's it's a little surreal too, because it's like, again, when you watch certain podcasts and stuff, and then when you're like, hey, you want to be on the show? I was like, yeah, like, I mean, I've been watching the show for some time, so that's awesome.
So we love having you on. Like I said, we had a blast, and everybody, like I said, once again, watching tonight, listening to the podcast in the future, all the social media links, the podcast link, everything is in the video description, the podcast description. So you don't have to remember anything. Just scroll down, click on it, and you can find Glen Tobacconist on all the social medias. You can find the podcast as well. So, Erik, thank you so much for coming on, spending a couple hours of your Monday night with us. We appreciate it.
Of course. The pleasure's all mine. So thank you guys so much. And have a great week and keep up the great content.
All right. And you too. Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Take care.
All right. So while we hear a word from our sponsor, Corona Cigar, everybody start typing in the word cigar for our giveaway for tonight. All right. You know, we have on tons again with Nick Melillo, Steve Saka. We've interviewed everybody in the industry, and I would say this is in my top 5 of my favorite interviews for the year.
Yeah.
I love it when I have so much fun, and it's not just in a working interview. Sometimes we got to work at it, and it's not necessarily fun. We get a lot of great information, but I had a blast tonight.
It could have gone on even longer. I mean, there's just so many avenues to travel down with that conversation. I could have probably spent an hour just talking about movies and cigars, and I mean that alone just was because I'm a movie guy. You know,
we've done it on our podcast, Kerr, our Broadleaf Boys podcast. We'll talk about movies for an hour, and that's all we'll talk about. So yeah, absolutely had a
good
blast. Guy. Great guy. Let me share my screen here. And let's see. Let's pick a winner for tonight. Tonight's winner is getting a crazy prize pack.
Wait, you gotta do your thingy. Oh, never mind.
Oh, I forgot to do the thingy.
Damn it!
I know.
You're in a hurry, Kev.
All right, JJ Jambalaya, send me an email, Kevin@cigarprop.com.
Was there anybody who couldn't win?
Yeah, he wasn't one of them. Rick Gardner, Robert King Jr., Randy Keller, and Celestino Zamora. So tonight you're going to get from our sponsor, Illusione Cigars. You're going to get a hat.
Oh, nice.
Going to get a T-shirt. I hope he's an extra large because that's the only size shirt that we have. And then we've got from our sponsor, Corona Cigar, the premium cigar of the month club shipment. Which includes an Aroa Classic, which is the Lancero. I sent you my Lancero.
Thank you, and it was fucking awesome.
Oh man, the Murcielago, TAA 2023, the Patoro Monte Cristo Classic, and an Arturo Fuente Don Carlos.
Ooh,
this is an amazing selection from Corona Cigars. So yeah, JJ Jambalaya, you've got an amazing cigar package.
And if you don't contact Kevin, that goes to me.
Yes, exactly. I'll send it to Kerr. Next week since it's PCA, all the manufacturers, everybody is out of town. So we're gonna have Ryan Miller from Rocky Mountain Cigar Show. We had it's been a long time since we've talked with Ryan on the show. Right. We're just gonna sit around, just talk about cigars, talk about the industry, just kind of shoot the shit and see what's going on. Make sure you're following Cigar Prop, producer Jessica, Kerr Viajante of Stogie Road Cigars. All the social medias are in the links below, as well as our guest tonight. Also in the show notes down below are all the social media links for our partners. We say it every week, and we really, really mean it. We cannot make this happen without them. So thank you to JC Newman Cigars, CigarMedics, Amendola Cigars. We are the muscle. Jake Wyatt Cigars, Illusione Cigars, deep in flavor, deep in your mind. K by Karen Berger Cigars, Corona Cigar, and of course Drew Estate and Experience Acid. Erik, we're going to pull you back up here in a second. Kerr, leave everybody with some final thoughts for the night.
I'll tell you what, after talking to Erik tonight, it's like it makes you want to go out there and visit the shop. I mean, everything from the selection to the trolley car to the train cars and everything. So if your Stogie Road finds you out in, what is it, Oakland?
Oak Glen, California.
Oak Glen. Don't say it too fast because I'm like Oakland.
Apple Country. Pick some
Country.
apple.
Pick some apples. Hang out with Eric and sit in a old timey train car. But if your Stogie Road finds you out there, make sure that you check out the Oak Glen Tobacconist.
All right, we'll see everybody next week.